Masechta bava basra daf chav vav amud aleph. We're starting from chafei amud beis from the Mishnah. Marchikin es ha'ilon min habayr. One has to distance his tree from a pit. The Mishnah of chafei amud beis. Okay, the Mishnah of chafei amud beis again. Marchikin es ha'ilon min habayr. One has to distance his tree when he plants a tree. He has to make this. Yep, this is the Mishnah. This is the market. He has to distance his tree
Like 4 feet.
of 25 feet. Esim chamesh ama, 25 feet away from the bird of his friend, because the roots will destroy the sides of the bird. Ubecharov is a boxer tree, a carob tree, or a sycamore tree, where there's many roots. Chamish mama, you need 50 yamas away from the bird. There's much more branches. Whether the bird is on, whether the tree is on the top and the bird is on the bottom, or the reverse, or the bird is on the top, the tree is on the bottom, or on the side, mamish, he has to keep it away 50 feet. 50 feet away from the bird if it's a sycamore tree. Okay, that's good. So that's the Mishnah. Okay, what's if the bird was there before the tree? And he went and he planted the tree within 50 yamas, or within 25 yamas of a regular tree to the bird. Kaitzitz, the person who planted the tree after the bird, he has to cut down the tree. Aber, the balabayr has to give him dumb money. And like we learned, the whole thing, it's not like you remember from the city, on the outskirts of the city, you weren't allowed to have a tree next to the border of the city. You had to plant it 25 amas away, because it's for the beauty. So over there, it's harming for the city. So it's harabim. So if the city was there before he planted the tree, then he would have to cut the tree and get zero, because it's a hazekid rabim. Here we're talking about hazekid yachid. So by hazekid yachid, the halacha is that even though the bird was there before, and he planted the tree after, within 25 hours, he has to cut it, but he gets paid. Okay. Bim ilan kodem. The balabayr has to pay the bala ilan for cutting the tree. Bim ilan kodem. What's if the tree was there first before the bird? Lo yakis. He doesn't have to cut the tree at all. He has to move his bird further. Yeah, his tree was there. Suffix zeh kodem. It's a suffix if the bird was there first, or it's a suffix if the elam was there first. Lo yakuts. Then the din is he doesn't have to cut the tree. Mina suffix, you don't have to cut the tree, because lechatchila he has a right to have a tree there. So if you want me to remove the tree, bring proof that your bird was there first. Maybe I don't want the money. I can't keep it there. Rabbi Yossi says, even if the bird was there before the tree, and he planted the tree within 25 amas, lo yakitz, he shouldn't cut it. This guy digs the bird in his ishus, and the other person plants the tree in his ishus, and he says, you have a problem? Alanizik, the one that foresees damages, he always has to worry and has to move back. It's not my problem. Everybody has a right to do whatever he wants in his property. We learned that I said, whether the bird is on the bottom, the ilan lamaila, and the ilan is on top on a hill, or bein shaber lamaila, or whether the bird was on the hilly part and the tree, the ilan lamata. So if you want a bishlema bird lamata about ilan lamaila, it makes sense if the bird is here and the tree is here, so the roots of the tree is coming downward, it's going to break the bird. But if the bird is here and the tree is here and the roots are going down, well, what's the hezek? Amai, why should he have to distance himself by such a case? The tree, if the tree is on the bottom and the bird is on the top, it's not going to do any harm. The reason for distancing, to make that to distance his tree from the bird, even though the bird is on the top, the sharashim, the roots, very good. It loosens the whole kaka. It's going to go, and the bottom of the bird is going to become loosened. And it's an under game it's going to loosen the whole bottom of the Beir and it'll fall apart. Yeah, and the water will go down, right? It's going to loosen the whole bottom of the pit. Rabbi Yossi, we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi says, even though the Beir came before the tree, he doesn't cut it. Everyone can do what he wants in his issue. This guy digs in his side of his property. This guy plants whatever he wants on his property. And if the nizik is worried that he's going to get harmed, the nizik should have distanced himself from the tree. It's upon him to worry about it. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, halacha Rabbi Yossi, the halacha like Rabbi Yossi, that it's ala nizik to distance himself. The Elon doesn't have to worry, even though the Beir was there first. The one who plants the tree can do what he wants, right? Avashi said, when we were learning the Beis Medrash of Rav Kahana, we were accustomed to saying, "Meider Rabbi Yossi v'giri delay." Rabbi Yossi is meider when it's a direct damage. What's considered as a direct damage? So we had that story in Bab Metzia. What's giri delay? There was a house and an upper floor. You remember that?
Yes.
Then there was, the floor was the ceiling of the bottom, but it was the floor of the top. Now, since Sugaying and the plaster became all foiled, and now you can even see through the bottom. So if you would gis nagavasa, the water goes straight down on the head of the tenant, not the tenant, the guy in the bottom floor.
Wait, I'll get up at the same time.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, so the water goes down. That's called giri delay. What's not called giri delay? Like over here, you have a leak. So the plaster absorbs it. Später kommt herab und hängt dann drin ein bisschen Wasser, and then it starts leaking some water. That's not called giri delay. Giri delay means the moment you wash the water goes straight down on his head. That means there's no plaster to absorb the water. But if there was plaster to absorb the water, and later if this absorbing and starts leaking, that's not giri delay. Sag die Gemara, Rabbi Yossi's meider, but giri delay. If it's a direct damage, if it comes right down, then he's not allowed to. He's not allowed to go wash his hands in such a place. He has the plaster. That's a direct damage. Papa Yonah, Papa Yonah, he was first an Ani and then he became an Usher. And he was from Papi. Papa Yonah, he was from Greece, from Yavan.
Yeah.
He was an Ani, and then he became a wealthy man. Is so Bana Apartna, he built a palace. Beshib bevusei and his shchina hava hanoch atzuri beshib bevusei. His shchina, his shachin had like a sesame press that it took out the oil, like almost like olive press. The same thing. The chava daikesh shami when he give a zetz to take out the olives, the oil from the sesame. Have a night partner. The guy, he had a bad contractor, but the whole house was shaking. It was terrible. So he brings down from the Mefashim. Why does it say the detail? He was an Ani first, and then he became a Asher. The answer is because as an Ani, he didn't care that there was this Shachan, and he never thought he's going to build a palace. But if he was an Asher Melech, he should have known that he might build a palace. He should have been Meicha right away. So, but over here, why do we say that he was Ani first? Because we want to bring down that he never thought, and the chazaka, he had a chazaka, ain't chazaka l'nezakin, if you remember. A chazaka, a hezek, he can't have a chazaka. But if he was rich, he has no teretz. He knew he's going to build it. He should have been meicha right away. That's what he brings down. He came before Ravashi. He says, "Der klappt dort, my stub shackelt sich." Amalei, so Ravashi said, when we were learning in the Beis Medrash of Kahana, we were accustomed to say, "Made it." Rabbi Yossi beginning to delay. Rabbi Yossi says it's direct damage. When he gives us zets, the whole house starts shaking. So it's a direct damage every time he gives that zets to take out the oil from the sesame. It's like the water coming straight down on his head. What's considered as shaking that you say it's a problem? So the Gemara within the Noyed Nichtema Apum in the Chatzma. when you have the lid on a barrel, and when it gives us that, and the barrel starts, the lid, the cover starts shaking, oh, that's shenish good. The house, that means it's not good. It's the whole house is shaking, and it's bad for the yesod of the house. It's going to fall apart. The way by Marion, bereit the Robin,
What was the case here? So even though here Rabbi Yossi was
here was Bekiri delay. Even though Rabbi Yossi says normally you can do whatever you want in your property, so the guy who was pressing the
When did
sesame,
he built a house later
After.
on.
he built it later, but he was an ani, so that's why he wasn't meicha. It's not a real
He had
chazaka.
a small house.
Ain't
Was he
chazaka
gonna
than
be
zaken.
Moshe, then he didn't have a house, was it?
No,
Was
but
it-
if he was a wealthy guy and he knew he was going to build a house, he should have been meicha. You can't have it. Then, if after 3 years as a wealthy guy he had it, it would be a chazaka. Okay, talking about it, when the household of Bar Marion, the son of Ravin, they were how do you call it? They were pressing the flax and removing the sand from it, and mamish they were pressing it hard. So when they were pressing the flax, so the sand and whatever the husks went flying, and it was hitting people. It was damaging.
Guys,
Yeah, Bazikala Noshim said Mazgiva not mentioning gas. I mean the neighbors were getting hit by it. Avina. So these people, the Shchenim came before Avina to say, hey, tell this guy who's Menafetz Pishton, he should move. He can't be so close. We're getting hit by it. So Ravina said to him, when we said only if it comes direct from his hand. B'yodayim he did it. But here, here the wind is blowing the sand. When they're doing the pishtan, so it's not directly from his hand. He's talking banging, and then the earth starts flying, and then it hits people. So that's a so wind. It's not him. It's not direct. Sagt die Gemara, Maskif lo ma baravashi ma ishnam zeh ruach mesayat. So ma baravashi is on Shabbos winnowing. What do? You throw up the weights. The kernels are heavier, the husks are lighter, so it flies, and the wind blows it away. You're chayiv for zayra. You didn't do it. The wind finished the malacha. Man sagt, du bist chayiv for Shabbos. Is Avina is nicht kein Shaila. He brings down. Mitzad Avina is nicht kein Shaila, because Avina is mechalik. Shabbos is a malacha we learn out from the Mishkan. Any malacha that you intended that it should happen, then you chayiv for it. Here, his full intention happened. What did he want? He wanted the kernels to fall out of the husk. There was help with the wind, that's fine, but he performed the malacha that he was mechaven. That's why Shabbos Yechayiv. By here you're talking about dinim mamanis. By dinim mamanis you need it direct from your hand. That's a different gather. But the Mabar Rashi doesn't see the difference. So he says, what's the difference than Zayra? Zayra yoiv on the malacha, even though the wind blew it, it's not direct.
So that's what he wants to bring out.
So Mabar Rashi says, Amru Kamei the Merema. So they said these details of the story to Merema. Merema said, Hainu Zayra, Baruch Sayata. He says, Mom, it's the same thing, it has the same name, and it's considered your koyach. Ravino says, no, it's not. And Shabbos is different. Shabbos saying from Lechas Mashabbos that you have to. We learn out from the Mishkan only those malachas that what your machshava wanted to finish. That's what you're chayiv for.
But Shabbos Chatchila is not allowed to make a difference between the wheat and the thing.
You're not allowed to winnow. But so he's not doing the whole malacha. The wind is doing it. But his machshava, what he did, Shabbos is not chayiv only. You're chayiv for this that you intended to do a full malacha and it was accomplished. It doesn't matter if there was a wind in the middle. Here, when it comes to hazekis, you want to be mechayiv somebody has to be direct. That's what Avina says. No, Avina says no. It's the same thing as Zayda. Just like Shabbos Yechayiv, so too, and it's considered as your koyach. So too here, it's also considered your koyach. In fact, we want to Avina that he was mater. He said Pishtan, you're allowed. He says because here it's not direct. Shabbos is different, right? So according to Avina, so Maishna, here's another question, Avina. Why is it any different? Megates, Hayutze, Metachsa Patish. You have this blacksmith. He gives a bang, sparks come out, right? And it can burn down somebody's house. And we say, if it did damage, the Chayla Shalom, either spark flew with the wind, So why is he? Why is you say he's chayiv, right? So here also, when he was manapitz the pishtan and the earth and the husks went flying and did it, he should be chayiv. So there's a difference. Hasam nichalei deleis. Deer by the napach, he bangs it so hard. He makes sure with his koyach the spark should go far away. He doesn't want it to burn down his house. He wants it to go further away. Okay, but over here, when it comes to the pishtan, he doesn't care if the earth falls here. He doesn't want it to do any harm. He's not interested. It's not going to burn down his house. It's right by himself. He's happy and he's not banging so hard. By the smith, he's banging so hard. So it's really from his kaya. He wants to make sure that spark is not going to land up in his house.
You can't compare it.
Right.
How does the Rub going to pass? He has a shiloh today.
What's the psak?
Because he says everything is subjective, right?
Right. I don't have the
It's not
psak in there.
objective to say, this is
He
this,
brings
this
down
is
some
this,
achlaitis and the shaynim. I don't have the answer. I don't know. Sagt die Gemara, der sagt die Mishnah, Vayita Adam Ilam, someone lesad chavei Adam came hirchik mimeno dalad ames. A person shouldn't plant a tree next to the field of his friend, only if he distance it 4 ames. The purpose of 4 ames is because when you have a tree, you have to plow around the tree 4 ames. Now, if you're going to be next to your friend's field, you're going to go plowing in his field.
Before we said 25 hours.
That's from a bird. Now we're talking about stop. There's no bird, there's no nothing. By the tree, he needs now, for plowing, he should make 4 amas away so he has room for his plow to go around the tree. If he does it by the border, he's going to end up going into his friend's field and plowing around over there.
So this is a different thing.
This is a different thing. Whether it's vines, whether it's a regular tree, he has to distance himself 4 amas away from the border. But what's if Hoya Godeh ben Tayim? What's if there was a wall between the 2 Sundays? Now we're not afraid. You can build, I don't care. You can plant your tree right by the wall. You're not going into your friend's field. There's a wall there. You can't go past it.
But it's a closed wall.
A closed wall.
It was never set up for plowing then.
Right.
There's a fence.
Right. And so therefore you can plant him right there. We don't have to worry. He's going to go planting on that side because there's a wall. He's not gonna go to his. He's gonna go on both sides. He's never gonna go around the mamish. So he says like this: each one can bring up his trees up to the wall. No big deal. And where do we get this whole? Why do we say geffen? Why do we say vines? Because the vines has to do with kilayim. Kilayim, there's also the same distance from the wheat. You have to keep from the vegetables 4 amas away.
Since you have a wall,
Since you have a wall, it's not a problem. What's if the roots of your tree started to go into under the wall, and it's now in your friend wants to plow? There's roots there.
And he breaks
And either he breaks the machine or he can't even go. So he says, the guy could go ahead in his own shoes, dig 3 tvachim and stop breaking the roots over there.
The tree falls down.
We'll talk about it. In order not to block the plow from going. What's if he intended to make a deep bird, a pit, or a ditch, or a cave? He can cut the shorashim, and he can go even more than 3 tvachim. And whatever wood he accumulated from cutting the roots. So we don't know. Okay, so we don't know who shalai is. Does he have to give it to the owner of the tree? Does it belong to the owner of the tree, or it belongs to him because it's in his rishus? The Gemara is going to talk about it because it's part of his tree. We're going to go to it soon.
He has a right to cut.
He has a right to cut, just but then give me back my branches. Okay, we'll talk about it soon. Tana, we learned in the Braisa. Arba amish amru. These 4 amas that the Chacham say you have to move away from the border. That's pashut to work around the vines. You need the 4 amas to plow around it. Where do we say you need 4 amas? Only in Eretz Yisrael. In Bavel, it's more fertile. You didn't need such a big macharisha to make it grow. In Bavel was better. The earth was much better, and therefore you didn't need such a wide plow. You could have a plow of the width of 2 amas, and it did the job. So Gemara Tanya Nami Hachi. We learned in the Brayso similarly. Lo yita adam ilan. Someone was there. Chaveira lemikein. Hichik mimenu shtei amis. We learned that a person shouldn't plant a tree next to the field of his friend, only if he distanced the tree 2 amis away from the border. In fact, what about Nantanam? But in our Mishnah we learn Arba amis, 4 amis. Elalav Shmuel. Only we have to learn like Shmuel. That what the Eretz Yisrael, our Mishnah is talking about Eretz Yisrael 4 amis, and they're talking about bava. Shmamino is haray from none. Is a good raya. Others started off with a kasha right away, a stira. So now we learned in our Mishnah, the same Gemara, it's just saying it over in a different nusach, as a stira. We learned now Mishnah, Yita Adam, Ilan Samalach, the Sadach Havidal, and Kain, Hirchik, Mimana Damis, and about Tanya, Shtei Amis. In our Mishnah, we learned the distances 4 amis, and there we learned 2 amis. Amashmol like kasha, is Nishkin kasha. Kan, the Baraisa that required 2 amis is Bava, because the earth was more fertile, and they could use a much narrower plow. Kan, but over here, why 4 amis? Beretz Yisrael, because it's harder earth, and you needed a wider plow to make the tree grow the right way. So the Gemara, Rava bar Rav Chanan have a lei hanu dichle. Rava bar Rav Chanan had these date trees. A mitzvah the Hades to Rav Yosef on the border by the gvul from Rav Yosef, who had vines. He had the vine tree. He had an orchard. Hava asa tzipori yasva b'dikle. First, the tzipori and the birds came flying, and they sat themselves on the tree. Good. Then, and then after sitting on the tree, it got a good view, and it sees and it smells. It knows where the gefanim are. Perfect. Then it flies down on the gefanim, and it starts picking away. Picking away. Okay. And it caused them harm. Yosef said to Rabbi Bachana, Zil Kates, gay. Schneid up deine Beine. The Fegel the birds are coming on your tree, and then they come flying into my vine.
The spies.
The tree was still in the other guy's shoes.
What?
It was still in the other guy's
The
shoes.
tzipodim was on the tree, and the other guys are shoes. Then it flew into the vine. It was right at the border.
He said, go put up his branches up
He
on his side.
he told Rav Yosef had the vines, and Rabbi Bar Rav Chanan had trees right at the border of Rav Yosef.
So who's cutting what?
So Rav Yosef said, your date trees cause me harm, because the birds come on your tree and then come flying down on my vines and destroying my grapes.
Why does he have to cut? The tree?
Don't cut your tree down. Move it over and plant the tree elsewhere. This is terrible.
Make it shorter.
No, get it out of here. Just cut it down. Okay, so what happened? Amalei, Rav Yosef said to Rabbi Bar Chanan, Zil Kates, go climb. Amalei, what do you want from me? I distanced my tree 4 hours. I did what I was supposed to. The Hosteiners, the Hauptschifein to me. I did exactly according to the books.
I don't control the birds.
Right? Amalei, so he said to him, Hani, maybe when was this din of Hachakas Dalad Amis said, Le'ilanis, if you have a Elon and your friend has a Elon, so that's where it says it's 4 Amis.
Two different things.
Avo Legifanim. But when you're talking about vines versus a tree, 4 amis away from the border is not enough. He says, being on tvei, you need to distance yourself more in order that the birds shouldn't fly off the tree and go in the gefanim.
But you could fly with more than 4 hours too.
Yeah, but he says this is too close. He says maybe you need more of a distance. In fact, what about nan? So he had Rava Bar Rav Chanan says, what are you talking about? Nan, we learned now Mishnah. Echad fanim, ve'echad kol ilan. It doesn't say dafke. Trees with trees, it says side gefanim and side trees.
Both trees.
It says even gefanim with trees. It doesn't say any differences. Amalei, you're learning wrong. It says hani mili. When it says Elon, it means bein Elon le'Elon, and between one tree and another is 4 amis. And when it says gefanim, that only 4 amis is enough, it means bein gefanim le'gefanim, between vines and vines. Avo bein Elon le'gefanim bein a tvei. But if you have one side is tree on the one side of the goal and the other is vines, it's a different share.
2 different trees.
Yeah, Amalei, Ano, Loi. So he says, Rabbi Chanan says, I hear you. Okay, maybe you're right, but Ano, Loi Kayatzna. Ich gehe nicht schneiden. I'm not
Side
saying.
because
He says, yeah, that's what he told him. No, Rav said, Hai dikla de toin kaba. This date tree that has a kav that grows even in a year, he brings down over here. I was seeing kavu midas nafach hashavla abba lugin. So he says, even if you have a kav tmanim bishana that the tree gives off bishana, atzan lemixia, it's forbidden to cut it off. Rabbi Chanina said, Lo shachiv shichas bri. Shichas, he said his son, Rabbi Chanina's son was Shichas. He was Mamash HaTzadik. And he only passed away Ella because the cuts he cut a fruit tree before its man, and it was supposed to give off fruits. It was loaded with pears and it didn't wait. Huh? Yeah. So it says that the fruits have neshamas on it, and it's like when you're cutting off, and you're sending away the neshamas. So it says, really, you're allowed if it does damage, or if the wood of the tree is worth more. The Rambam says then you're allowed to sell the wood. The Ramban says. I'm not sure the Rambam, but the Ramban says that. So, but over here he didn't want to deal with it. He says, Ma ini. He says he told Rabbi Yosef, if you want, okay, you can cut it. I'm not cutting it. He tells him. Sagt die Gemara. Yeah, Papa Papa had these date trees. Amitza Rav Huna Bereit Rav Yeshua. He had it. This is another story that he had date trees on the border of Rav Huna Bereit Rav Yeshua. And Rav Papa. The next story. Another story. Rav Papa had the date trees on the border.
All these Amoraim were farmers.
They were farmers.
A lot of them were farmers. Yeah.
They have also what the Chsish with farmers.
In Kfar Chabad.
They have it,
Yeah.
They have it with farmers.
Okay. Papa had these date trees. He had it on the boundary of Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yeshua, and the roots of the date trees of Rav Papa's date trees went into Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yeshua's field. Azal Ashkeche to have a chafa. Rav Papa was passing by, and he sees Rav Huna is digging and he's schneiding the roots. And he was cutting the roots of the tree of Rav Papa's that was that came into his field. Amalei, my hi, he was what are you doing? Amalei, Rav Huna Rav Yeshua says, "None, it's a Mishnah." If the roots went into somebody else's field, Mami, he could dig 3 tvachim even deeper. If he's making a bird, one is if it's for the machrisha, for the plow to go smoothly, you only have to do 3 tvachim. So it shouldn't hold back from the plow moving. Amalei, so Papa said to Avuna, Hanimili Shleisha. What you said is only 3 tvachim. But Ma, Kachafei Tvei. You're digging much more. Amalei, so Avuna said, no. The reason why I'm digging much more because Beides, Shichun, Ma'aris, Kachafarna. I'm digging pits, ditches, Ma'aris, caves. And the Mishnah said you're allowed to even dig more than 3 tvachim.
You need for the trees, more water.
Oh, you mean why he's building a bird? He wants to water the field. Yeah. It's an irrigated field. So the Tanan that we learned in the Mishnah, like we learned in the Mishnah, if he was digging a bird, or a pit, or a ditch, or cave, he could cut the sharashim, but then he can even dig deeper than 3 tvachim. Well, eitzim shalai, and the eitzim is. We don't know who's yet. So far it says shalai. That's the lashon of the Mishnah. That's what he showed him. So he says. So now Rav Papa, I'm sorry, Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yeshua wasn't getting anywhere. Rav Papa kept on answering and answering. Amar Rav Papa, Amrulei Kuli. I'm sorry, Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yeshua was answering every problem Rav Papa had. He kept on answering him. Amar Rav Papa, Amrulei Kuli. He's bringing me so many rayas
that you could do it.
that he can do it, right?
V'yochel-
V'lo yechil alei. I'm bringing him rayas that you're not allowed to
But
do.
here's the reason-
Oh no, right away. V'lo yechil alei. I couldn't overcome with my rayas. I halt nein upschlag my rayas. The Amr lei had Amr Rabbi Yehuda until he told him this, that what Rabbi Yehuda had said. Meitzar, a boundary that's between two fields. Shehirziku b'Rabbi. Now the boundaries belong to the owners of the field, but the Rabbin used to use that path, which was used. That border. They used to make a little hill to be able to tell between this sada and that sada. And that little hill, the Rabbin would walk there. So once they're walking there, also to calculate. There's not a lot of room that walking place. They can't put up a wall and stop the whole thing. No. Okay, so you see, if you have a chazaka, that the Rabbin goes there, so therefore he says, me too. I had a chazaka with my trees, my roots went into Rav Huna, into your field. What's supposed to be in? How about the chazaka? So you can't cut it. Oh, so he was masking. But Basa the Nafak, after Papa left, Rav Huna said, "Oh, get him noch abschlagen. Have another thing." He says, "Amai loy amrilei." Why didn't I say this? Kam b'seishes ama. Here it's within 16 amas. This that you're not allowed to cut because one has a chazaka, because up to 16 amas, the roots are yoinek from the tree. Or from the ground and the tree. So it has to do with the chayis. So he says that the sharashim are yoinik from the karka, from the other guy, up to 16 amas. But once his, so whose tree was it again? Papa had the trees in Rav Huna's side. So those roots that are 16 amas from the tree, those roots are living off of the karka from Rav Huna. He says that you're not allowed to touch because he has a chazaka. Yeah, Papa wasn't allowed to touch it. But he says where I was digging was after the 15 amas. Kan chutz l'sheshes ama. After 16 amas, it's not living from the karka of Rav Huna. So Rav Huna was allowed to cut it. So that's what he. Her Papa was allowed to cut it, but he let it go already.
Papa was really right.
He was really right, but he didn't tell him. He left already, and he said, "Okay, avart is
At
avart."
least he was honest about it.
Yeah. Haya chayfa bein shiach u'ma'ara koitzitz v'yoyed ha'eitz v'shalai. We learned from the Mishnah when he was digging a pit or a ditch or a cave, and he dug really far, and then he cut. So who does the wood belong to? He said shalai. Who is shalai? To the Baal Ha'ilam or to the one that cut it? Yaakov had Vaya. Yaakov had Vaya, it says it from Iraq. Merav Chizda, Espen Rav Chizda, Eitzim Shami. Who, when you said Shalai, to whom? Who do we give the wood to? Amalei Rav Chizda said to Yaakov, Had Yava, to Nisua. We learned an answer from the following Mishnah Me'ila. Shor Shei Ilan Shal Hedyoy. Haboyim Shal Hegdish. If you had the roots of a tree of a hedjit, and somebody gave away his property right next to the hedjit, and the roots of Reuven went into Hegdish's karka. So now the roots are in Hegdish's karka, loy nehanin. So Reuven cannot have enough in those wood that's in the Hegdish karka, because it's yoinik from the karka of Hegdish, like we said. Those first 16 amas are getting its chayas from the karka of Hegdish. Oh, but loy ma'ilin. If you did have a nah, you're not chayiv the chaymesh and the asheme'ilis. It's not mamish milas, heisnish milah. So why? If you say the reason why he's not chayiv me'ilah because the roots really belong to the tree, I understand. That's why he's not oiva me'ilah. But if you're going after the karka with the wood, where the karka is, it's hegdish. So if he had enough from it, he was male. So my loy mailin. Why do we say it's not? He's not eva meila. Elamai basa ilan azlinan. Only what is the maskana? Now we do go after the tree.
Not according to Carter.
Not according to the Kakav. In fact, what are you talking about? Ema Sefer. Look what it says in the Sefer. Shel Hegdish, the reverse. Hegdish had a tree, and the roots went into Reuben's karka. And what did we paskin? Shel Hegdish, Haboyim Shel Hegdish, Bisay Shel Hegdish. The Shel Hegdish, that the roots went into the Hegdish. Loy Nadim and Loy Bayalin. We say there, the Hegdish cannot have a nah, but if he had a nah, he's not even a meila. If we go after the tree, like you just finished off saying, the tree belongs to Hegdish. Amai loy mailin. Why isn't that Eva Mila? Says you might have meet here. How could you compare this case to the case of where we're talking about a regular two hedyotim with a tree and roots? Why? Because here we're talking about somebody said this tree is Hegdish before the roots started to go out. Now, the roots that come out, that's not part of Hegdish. It's just a Naya growth. A Naya, when there was no Sharashim that went all the way out. So what he made Hegdish...
Not Hegdish anymore? It came from
No,
a tree that was
he planted a new tree. He says this tree belongs to Hegdish. Okay, he already made it Hegdish. Now there are Gidulah, there's the Sharashim that come out. That doesn't have a din of Hegdish. That's a new separate thing. So
you
that
can walk into the Hegdish field and cut off those branches?
no, if the branches went into your field,
But
if
it
the
came from
roots,
tree that was Hegdish.
yeah, but the tree when he made it Hegdish it didn't have the roots yet. The roots came later, so it's not Hegdish the roots.
Hegdish tree, right?
If the roots were dead and he made the roots together with the tree Hegdish, that's both. But here he just made the tree because of you can't make a person be chayiv on the gedulim from that you made Hegdish on the growth that came from Hegdish. Ravina says loy kasha. There's no stina between the Reisha and the Sefer. Over here in the Reisha where we said that the roots of the hedging went into Hegdish, right? And we said that we go after the tree. Why? Because we're talking about Besoich Sheish Esei Amma. It's within 16 Amas. Within 16 Amas, it's part of the tree. Khan in the Sefer with the roots of the tree of Hegdish went into the hedging is Chutz L'Sheish Esei Amma. It's out of the 16 Amas. It's not part of the tree. And since it's not part of the tree, it's not Hegdish, but you're not allowed to know. No, if it's within 16 amas, then we look at the roots as part of the tree. If it's after 16 amas, we don't look at the roots as part of the tree. We'll stop here. Because next piece of money.